Hello, my name is Lena Hart, and tonight, I am not a flight attendant. Not really. Tonight, I'm a ghost returning to finish what the living refused to see. The terminal lights at Dubai International flicker against the glass, cold and sterile. It's almost midnight, and the air smells like jet fuel and cinnamon from the duty-free shop. People rush past me with their passports clutched like shields, unaware they're walking through the final hours of someone's life. My uniform feels tighter than I remember, the navy fabric pressing against my ribs. Maybe it's not the uniform that changed. Maybe I did. Fly times, DXB 421 to London Heathrow. A 7-hour red-eye, the kind that makes everyone quiet after takeoff. I've always liked those flights. The calm, the low hum of the engines, the way the world disappears in darkness below. But tonight, I'm not flying for peace. I'm flying for him. Asterisk, asterisk, Captain Raymond Shaw. Asterisk, asterisk. Every time I say his name in my head, I feel the muscles in my jaw tighten. He was the kind of pilot that flight schools worship. Square jaw, confident grin, the voice that could steady a storm. He was also the kind of man who could destroy you with that same calm voice. 2 years ago, I believed in him. I believed in everything that uniform stood for, until the day he made me the villain of his own mistake. It was Flight 207, Zurich to Madrid. We were cruising when a hydraulic warning lit up the panel. I told him. He ignored it. 30 minutes later, the landing gear jammed. The emergency landing shook the cabin, and a passenger died from cardiac arrest. The investigation blamed crew negligence. Raymond testified that I had overlooked standard safety procedure. That single sentence ended my career. Grounded, suspended. My name was dragged through tabloids. I was the careless flight attendant, the one who panicked and caused a delay that led to tragedy. The company never looked deeper. They never do when the captain has friends in high places. I spent months replaying that day, wondering how one man's lie could rewrite my life. Now, 2 years later, fate, or maybe irony, put me back on his flight roster. He's flying tonight, and I'm on his crew. I walk through the jet bridge, heels echoing on the metal floor. Inside the aircraft, the air is colder. The empty cabin feels like a church before a funeral. Raymond is already in the cockpit. I can see his reflection through the glass. Same posture, same arrogance. He turns as I knock lightly on the doorframe. Lena Hart, he says with a smile that doesn't reach his eyes. Didn't think I'd see you back here. Neither did I say. My voice is calm, almost soft. He laughs. Well, everyone deserves a second chance. If only he knew what kind of second chance I'm here for. During pre-flight checks, I move through the cabin with robotic precision. The new crew members don't know me well. That's a blessing. They assume I'm just quiet, professional, the type who doesn't gossip in galley corners. While they count meal trays, I slip into the cockpit under the pretense of checking the interphone system. Raymond's busy reviewing his flight plan. His co-pilot, a young guy named Harris, looks up and nods politely. Testing intercom, I say, pressing the small button near the door. My voice echoes through the cockpit speakers. All clear. Harris gives me a thumbs up. I kneel beside the panel that hides the door's emergency release mechanism. From my bag, I take out a small metal object, a piece that looks like part of the door assembly. It's not. It's a custom device I've been building for months. The explosive charge is tiny, not enough to destroy the aircraft, just enough to tear through the internal seal of the cockpit door if triggered. The detonator is wired to the emergency lever, the one used to open the cockpit from inside during a crash or fire. Pull it, and the explosion occurs in a single, confined blast. To anyone else, it's invisible. It looks like a maintenance update. I slip it into place, tighten the screws, and step back. My heart beats faster, but my hands don't shake. I've practiced this too many times in my head. Raymond glances over his shoulder. Everything good? Perfect, I say. He nods, smiling. Good to have a professional on board again. If only he knew how professional. Take off. The engines roar, and the runway lights blur beneath us like streaks of gold. The aircraft lifts into the night, and with it, the weight on my chest lightens just a little. The cabin dims to a soft blue glow. I move through the aisles, checking seatbelts, whispering polite reminders. Passengers nod sleepily, unaware that their flight is carrying two ghosts, one living, one soon to be. At 23:57, I return to the galley and open my small phone. I type a message into an encrypted app I built myself. It's a single sentence, scheduled to send at 2:15 a.m. directly to Raymond's cockpit phone. Asterisk, asterisk. You always said the cockpit was your fortress. Let's see how it feels when it becomes your coffin. Asterisk, asterisk. Then I lock the phone and slide it into my apron pocket. 3 hours later, we're over the Black Sea. The cabin is silent except for the drone of engines. Most passengers are asleep, wrapped in thin airline blankets. I pour coffee into a thermos and pretend to check the service cards, but I'm really watching the time on my wristwatch, 2:15. The message sends. 30 seconds later, Raymond's cockpit light flickers. He reads it. I can almost feel the confusion ripple through the cockpit door. Lena, his voice calls over the intercom, controlled but tight. Can you step up front a moment? I press the button but don't speak. Lena? His voice sharpens. Who's sending messages to the cockpit? Still silence. I turn off the intercom. The co-pilot must be asking questions now. Maybe Raymond's pretending nothing's wrong. He's good at pretending. At 2:21, turbulence hits, a rough one. The seatbelt signs flash. I tell the crew to secure the galley. Passengers stir, some murmuring prayers. Then, amid the shaking, I hear it through the door, a thud, then a metallic clang. The cockpit's internal systems glitch. Raymond's habit is to secure the door, always, even during minor turbulence. He probably thinks the latch jammed. He'll pull the emergency lever. And when he does, a faint, muffled blast echoes through the fuselage. Quick, brutal. The cabin jerks violently, then stills. Oxygen masks drop. Someone screams. I run toward the cockpit with my best performance, panic, urgency, and confusion. The co-pilot is slumped against the bulkhead, injured but breathing. The door is half buckled, twisted metal, and smoke is leaking through the seams. Captain Shaw, I shout, banging on what's left of the door. No response. Crew members rush forward. I grab a fire extinguisher, shouting orders like it's instinct. Inside the cockpit, I can see pieces of the control panel scattered like shattered glass. And he, Raymond, is slumped over, head down, motionless. The explosion was surgical. It didn't destroy the plane, it destroyed him. I helped the co-pilot stabilize the aircraft, following instructions from air traffic control after an emergency call. My hands are steady, my voice calm. Years of training return at the perfect time. We divert to Istanbul for an emergency landing. The moment the wheels touch down, chaos erupts. Airport fire crews surround the aircraft. Passengers cry, clutching their children. Paramedics storm the cockpit. Captain Shaw's gone. One of them whispers to another. I close my eyes. Not in grief, in silence. The investigation begins before dawn. Engineers crawl over every inch of the cockpit. No one finds anything. The small detonator was vaporized in the blast, leaving no residue. The preliminary report calls it a catastrophic mechanical failure of the emergency door system. A freak coincidence. I'm being interviewed by company officials. They ask if I noticed anything unusual. No, I say softly. He seemed calm, focused, like always. They thank me for my professionalism. Later, when I'm finally released from debriefing, I walk out of the terminal into the pale morning light. The sky over Istanbul is pink and silver. In my pocket, my phone buzzes once. A scheduled message sent to myself. Just 2 words. Asterisk, asterisk, flight complete. Asterisk, asterisk. I smile, not wide, just enough to feel the air shift around my face. For the first time in years, I don't feel like I'm falling. The hotel room smells like disinfectant and stale air. The airline booked us all into the same Istanbul airport hotel for crew recovery. It's supposed to feel safe, but the walls feel too thin. Every knock in the corridor sounds like someone coming for me. I sit at the edge of the bed in my uniform. I haven't changed since the landing. My reflection in the mirror looks like someone else's. Eyes red from sleeplessness, hair pulled too tight, mouth drawn in a line. If anyone asked, they'd call it shock. But I know better. It's the aftermath. Every time I close my eyes, I see the cockpit light flickering. The sound of the blast, short, sharp, still lives in my bones. The image of Raymond's body slumped forward flashes like static. It's supposed to bring satisfaction, it doesn't. It just leaves space where anger used to be. A knock at the door. I flinch. Miss Hart, company security. My chest tightens. It's starting. I open the door. 2 men in suits stand there. One from the airline's risk division, the other an investigator from the aviation authority. They smile, politely, the way people do when they're about to dig into your life. "Sorry for the late visit," the taller one says. "We just need a quick debrief." I nod and let them in. My hands stay folded, steady. Years of service taught me composure. It's the only armor I have left. They ask routine questions: what time I last saw the captain, whether I noticed anything unusual, and whether the crew reported any electrical issues. I give short, professional answers, the same tone I used in safety briefings. When the taller man finally asks, "You and Captain Shaw have flown together before, correct?" My pulse ticks up once. "Yes," I say carefully. "A few years back." "How would you describe your working relationship?" "Professional," I reply. He expected high standards. So did I. The two men exchange a glance. One of them writes something in his notebook. There's a pause long enough for my heart to fill the silence. Then the shorter one clears his throat. "You were grounded once, correct? Something to do with the Zurich flight?" I nod once. A misunderstanding that was later closed. He studies me for a moment. Then he smiles, a practiced, neutral expression. "Understood. Thank you for your time." When they leave, I don't breathe until the door clicks shut. The next morning, the crew meets in the hotel lobby for a company briefing. No one slept. The co-pilot, Harris, has a bandage on his temple. His hands shake slightly as he signs paperwork. He won't look at me. The airline's operations manager, an older woman with kind eyes, addresses us. "Captain Shaw's loss is a tragedy," she says. "But we're grateful for your professionalism. The preliminary report points to a possible electrical fault in the cockpit door. You all handled yourselves admirably." Applause breaks out, soft and awkward. I nod politely, pretending to be grateful. "Lena," the manager adds, "headquarters specifically noted your calm during the emergency. You probably saved lives." I manage a small smile. Just did my job. Inside, I feel nothing. 3 days later, I'm back in London. The media storm hits full force, with headlines about the mystery cockpit explosion. Experts debate theories, defective wiring, hydraulic malfunction, and even lithium battery fires. The company keeps statements short, citing ongoing investigation. Every time I turn on the TV, Raymond's face flashes across the screen, smiling, uniform crisp, paled as a veteran pilot gone too soon. No mention of Zurich, no mention of the woman he ruined. The world mourns him like a hero. And I realize that revenge doesn't erase the lie, it just replaces it with silence. A week passes. I'm called into headquarters for a final interview with the aviation board. Their office smells of paper and polished wood. The investigator, the same one from Istanbul, sits across the table, pen tapping against his notebook. "We've reviewed flight data," he says. "The door mechanism failed milliseconds after the emergency lever was pulled." "You said you were in the cabin when this happened?" "Yes," I answer, "serving coffee." He nods. The co-pilot confirms that Captain Shaw pulled the lever himself. "That's what I was told." He studies me for a moment. "Any idea why he would do that mid-flight?" I meet his eyes. "No, sir. But he was under a lot of pressure lately. Maybe he panicked." That word, asterisk, panicked asterisk, hangs between us. It's the same word he used to destroy me 2 years ago. Now it fits him, a perfect circle. The investigator writes something down, closes the folder, and thanks me for my cooperation. "We'll be in touch." As I walk out, my legs feel heavy. The city air outside is cold and sharp, the kind that clears your thoughts whether you want it to or not. That night, I took the underground home. The train rattles through tunnels like a mechanical heartbeat. Across from me, a little girl presses her face to the window, tracing shapes on the fogged glass. Her mother scolds her gently, but she just giggles. I envy that kind of innocence, the kind that doesn't know the weight of secrets. When I get home, I pour a glass of wine and open my laptop. My inbox is full. Condolence messages, airline notices, and a few journalists fishing for quotes. I delete them all. Then, buried between emails, I find one that freezes me. Subject: Zurich flight, closure notice, asterisk, asterisk, sender, asterisk, 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 internal safety board, asterisk. The message is short. Asterisk: following the reassessment of Flight 207 records, Captain Raymond Shaw has been posthumously cited for procedural negligence. The record has been amended accordingly. Asterisk. I read it 3 times before I understood what it meant. The truth is out. Maybe someone reopened the case. Maybe someone found the black box logs. Maybe karma, after all, moves in quieter ways than I imagined. For 2 years, I dreamed of justice. I thought it would look like fire and retribution, but it looks like a simple email hidden between schedules and spam. Days pass. Life resumes its pattern. I keep flying. New routes, new faces. The company promotes me, senior attendant, international roster. No one mentions Istanbul anymore. The passengers who board my flight see only the polished uniform, the calm smile. But every night when I close my eyes, I see that cockpit door. Not the explosion, just the silence after it. The way the world held its breath. I tell myself I did it for justice, that I gave the truth a shape it couldn't find on its own. But sometimes in the quiet hours above the clouds, I wonder if I became the very thing I hated, someone who decided which truths mattered enough to live or die for. Maybe that's why I keep flying. Because up here, above the cities and noise, guilt feels lighter. It's just me, the hum of engines and a sky too vast to judge. They tell you that flying becomes routine after a while. The safety briefings, the smiles, the coffee poured with practiced grace, it all blends into muscle memory. But routines can turn into cages. You can live inside them long enough that they start to feel like home. It's been 8 months since Istanbul. 8 months since Captain Raymond Shaw's name was carved into a brass plaque and mounted in the pilot's hall of remembrance. I was invited to the ceremony. I didn't go. The official investigation is over. The final report blames a rare pressure seal malfunction. No one's fault, no one's responsibility. A technical ghost story written in bureaucratic language. I still fly. Different routes now, mostly long haul. Sydney, Tokyo, Toronto. I tell myself it's because I love the view, the silence above the clouds. But deep down, I know I keep flying because the sky feels like the only place where no one can reach me. There's a moment I dread on every flight. It happens when the cabin lights dim, when passengers drift off, and all that's left is the steady hum of the engines. That's when the quiet starts speaking. Sometimes I hear the pop of static on the intercom, faint and distant. Sometimes it sounds like a man's voice, a calm, practiced tone saying asterisk, maintain altitude, asterisk. It's not real. I know it's not, but it's enough to make me check the cockpit door to make sure it's sealed tight. The other attendants think I'm meticulous. They call me Iron Lena. Always double checking, always too composed. If they knew what lived behind that calm, they'd stop calling me that. On a layover in Singapore, I can't sleep. I sit by the hotel window, watching aircraft lights blink across the dark skyline. Each one climbs into the night, following a path drawn long before takeoff. Pilots trust those invisible routes. They don't question them. I used to be like that, trusting rules, procedures, and authority. Now I know how easy it is to hide a lie behind professionalism. I keep a small silver key in my bag. It's the spare cockpit access key card Raymond once gave me, back when he still smiled like a mentor. I should have thrown it away, but I can't. It feels like a reminder and a warning. 2 weeks later, I'm scheduled for a flight to New York. New captain, new crew. The nameplate on the cockpit door reads asterisk, asterisk, Captain Harris, asterisk, asterisk. The same co-pilot who survived Istanbul. When he sees me during pre-flight, his face tightens slightly, but he forces a polite smile. Didn't think you'd still be flying, he says. Guess I don't know how to stop, I reply. He nods. I get that. For a moment, the air between us feels heavy. There's something he's not saying. Then he clears his throat. They finally closed the Shaw file, he says quietly. Funny thing, they said the mechanism showed signs of tampering, but no one could figure out how. No fingerprints, no residue. Just gone. My pulse stumbles. Really? Yeah, he says. They think maintenance replaced the parts later by mistake. Still, weird, right? I force a small smile. A lot of weird things happen up here. He studies me for a beat too long, then walks into the cockpit. I watch the door close. The same type of reinforced steel. Same latch, same hum of electronic lock sealing. For a moment, it feels like time folds in on itself. Mid-flight over the Atlantic, the turbulence begins. Not the violent kind, just enough to rattle cups and wake a few passengers. I move through the aisles, checking belts, murmuring reassurances. The captain's voice comes over the speaker, steady and calm. It's the same tone Raymond used to have. And for a second, it's as if nothing ever changed. When I return to the galley, I find an envelope on the counter. No one's near it. It's plain white with my name written in block letters. Inside is a single folded paper. One sentence printed neatly. Asterisk, asterisk. Fortresses fall from the inside. Asterisk, asterisk. My hands go cold. I glance around. No one's watching me. I check the cockpit, and Harris is focused on the instruments. The other attendants are tending to passengers. The envelope feels heavier than paper should. I tear it again, half expecting more. Nothing else inside, just that sentence. For the rest of the flight, I can't stop hearing it in my head. Fortresses fall from the inside. By the time we land in New York, I've convinced myself it's a prank. Maybe a coincidence. But when I go through my bag later, the envelope is gone. Weeks pass. Sleep becomes a stranger. I start waking at odd hours, hearing faint knocking, 3 slow taps, like a door latch being tested. Sometimes it's just the sound of the cabin pressurizing. Sometimes it isn't. On one red eye to Vancouver, I think I see someone standing at the front of the cabin as the lights flicker. A tall silhouette in a pilot's uniform, head bowed, unmoving. I blink, and it's gone. I tell myself it's exhaustion. That's all. But I stop sitting near the cockpit on breaks. I avoid looking at the door. I stop drinking coffee before flights because my hands shake too much. The other crew notices. "You okay, Lena?" one of them asks. "You look pale lately." "Just tired," I say. "Flying too much." No one questions it. Everyone's tired of this job. One night I walk alone through Heathrow's maintenance bay after a delayed arrival. The hangar is quiet, except for distant echoing footsteps and the hum of hydraulic lifts. An engineer walks by, clipboard in hand. "Evening," he says. "Evening," I reply, forcing a smile. He pauses. "You were on the Istanbul flight, weren't you?" The words hit harder than I expected. "Yes. Why?" He shrugs. "I read about it. Heard the final report came out clean. Must have been scary." I nod. "It was." He hesitates, then adds, "You know what's strange? The replacement parts we got afterward, someone signed for them using Shaw's old ID number. But that ID was retired months earlier. Guess it was a clerical thing." My breath catches. "Maybe," I say softly. But when he walks away, I stand there frozen, surrounded by the empty hum of engines cooling down. Somewhere in the back of my mind, a thought takes shape. What if ghosts don't haunt us to punish? What if they just refuse to let us forget? It's been a year now. I still fly. I still smile. But every time I check the cockpit door, I run my hand along the latch. It feels colder than it should, like metal remembering. People call me composed, professional, and unshakable. They don't see the tremor in my fingers when I pour coffee for the pilots. They don't see the way my eyes linger on every safety lever. Sometimes, when the cabin is dark and everyone's asleep, I whisper into the intercom, "Everything's under control." And in the faint crackle of feedback, I almost hear a voice answer, "Is it?" When my plane lands, the passengers clap the way they always do. Another safe flight, another performance complete. I walk through the airport, blending into the crowd, a quiet smile on my face. From the outside, I look like any other flight attendant heading home after a long shift. But I know the truth. Some flights never really end. 5 years later, the air feels thinner at 40,000 feet. It's not the altitude that makes it harder to breathe, it's time. It presses down in quieter ways, in the long pauses between duty calls, in the unbroken hum that fills a cabin when the world outside is sleeping. Lena Morales is still flying. Different airline now. Different uniform. She wears it like armor, crisp, polished, always perfect. She's one of those attendant passengers remembered for her calm. Professional to the bone, they say. They never notice the faint scar along her wrist, or how her eyes always drift toward the cockpit when she passes. She tells people she loves the job, the sky makes her feel free, but she knows the truth. She stays up here because she doesn't know how to live down there anymore. This flight is bound for Zurich. Quiet route, mostly business travelers. The captain is a woman, new to the crew, friendly but sharp-eyed. During pre-flight checks, she catches Lena's attention. "Weren't you with Atlas Air years ago?" the captain asks, half smiling. "I was," Lena says. "Heard about that Istanbul thing. Scary stuff." Lena just nods. "It was a long time ago." The captain shrugs. "You're still flying, that says something." Lena forces a polite smile. Maybe it says too much. Somewhere over the Mediterranean, turbulence hits again, gentle, rolling waves of air that make the fuselage creak. Most passengers keep sleeping, but Lena freezes for just a heartbeat, the sound tugging at a place memory still hides. She moves through the aisles, her motions automatic, graceful, every step rehearsed, but inside, a voice she hasn't heard in years whispers like static. Fortresses fall from the inside. Her hand tightens on the drink cart until her knuckles pale. When she reaches the cockpit, she stops. The door hums softly, the same tone she's heard 1,000 times. She could open it if she wanted. Her ID still carries access, emergency override, and senior staff clearance. She rests her palm flat against the cold metal. For a moment, her reflection wavers faintly in the brushed surface. She almost doesn't recognize herself. The captain's voice comes through the intercom. "Everything all right back there, Lena?" Her throat feels tight. "Yes, Captain. Just checking the latch." "Good. Keep it that way," the captain says lightly. A flicker of irony almost makes Lena smile. Almost. At 3:47 a.m., the passengers sleep. The cabin is dark except for the glow of reading lights. Outside, the sky is ink black, the stars sharp as broken glass. Lena sits by the galley window staring at the horizon line. Somewhere beyond it, dawn is rising. She's watched it thousands of times, but lately, it feels different, less beautiful, more like a boundary she'll never cross. She takes out a small object from her uniform pocket, a silver key card, worn at the edges, the one that belonged to Captain Raymond Shaw. She should have thrown it away years ago, but it's followed her through transfers, security checks, even promotions. Tonight, she turns it over between her fingers. The hum of the engines blends with the low murmur of pressure valves, the subtle vibration of metal and air. For a moment, she could almost believe she heard a heartbeat in it. Maintain altitude. Her chest tightens. It's not real, she tells herself. It's just the sound of flying. But as the first light of morning spills across the clouds, something strange happens. The cockpit intercom clicks, just once. A faint breath of static, followed by a voice. Not the captain. Not everyone is on board. Lena. Her entire body goes still. The sound is soft, familiar, calm. Raymond's voice. "Everything's under control." Her eyes burn. She looks at the keycard in her hand, trembling now. "No," she whispers. "It's not." She slides open the tiny galley trash bin and drops the card inside. The sound it makes, plastic hitting metal, is sharp, final, almost ceremonial. When she closes the lid, the engines seem louder, steadier. The static fades. Outside, the sunrise floods the horizon in gold. For the first time in years, she lets herself watch it without flinching. Later, when the plane lands in Zurich, she walks off last. The captain nods to her at the gate. "You good?" "Yeah," Lena says quietly, "just tired." The captain grins. "We all are." Lena steps into the terminal, suitcase rolling behind her. Travelers move past, families, business people, tourists. Everyone's rushing somewhere. She slows, lets the flow of strangers carry her forward. In the glass wall beside the jet bridge, her reflection glides next to her. Older now, colder but lighter somehow. For a moment, she almost feels weightless. Maybe guilt never leaves. Maybe it just changes form. Maybe ghosts don't disappear. They become the air you breathe, the silence you learn to live with. Lena stops, looks out at the runway one last time. A new plane is taxiing toward takeoff, sunlight gleaming on its wings. She whispers to herself, barely audible, "Fly safe." Then she turns away, disappearing into the crowd.